Welcome back to Shore Time with Vin and Dave. Vin Avenue, Dave Crossan with you here as we enter into the financial wake-up call. Dave, it is time to feel alive.
Feel alive. Wow. Okay. Well, you've had a couple cups of coffee there.
Well, sometimes that extra caffeine helps you feel more alive. A couple cups,
And
medium roast.
All right. So what you're saying here is talking about finance this early in the morning can put people to sleep. So it's my job to keep them going. Keep them inspired, if you will. New ideas. Come on, let's go.
I can just see it now, Dave. You're there pouring everybody a cup of coffee. You're like, here we go. Okay. Sit down. I'll help you out.
I'll do my best. Vin, thank you very much. And, well, this is what I love to do after we do our shows every Sunday is when I go in the office and I receive these great messages from people that listen to the show.
Sure.
So typically here I come into the office Monday with my cup of coffee, of course.
Oh, naturally.
And I have all these messages from people that listen to our show here, Vin. And a lot of it is about what we talked about or different ideas or something that maybe we should consider talking about in the future. And I got a great call from Jim in Allentown, New Jersey. Not Pennsylvania.
Nice. Right.
Allentown, New Jersey, as I knocked the microphone over here.
Easy.
And Jim is approaching the age of 72, and he has various retirement accounts. And on a previous show, actually going back, I'm going to say probably March, we talked about the ability for people as they have all these retirement accounts, these pre-tax retirement accounts, the ability to start consolidating. Because number one, the big issue is when you need to start taking your required minimum distributions. That's an amount that you must take out, and the magic age now is 72. It used to be age 70 and a half, but now for Jim's case, he's approaching 72. He has a schedule, if you will, and that's something where you take the account value from the previous year. I'll make up a number. So let's say it's $100,000, and then there's a factor based on your age. You divide that factor into that previous year's value, and that is the amount of money you need to take out for that given year, that year that you're in now, okay?
Okay.
So what ends up happening is if you have multiple retirement accounts, well, you're going to have different requirements from the different accounts. It could be a 401k, a 403b, a traditional IRA. So number one, if a person has a lot of them, and back in the day, I remember people would have different retirement accounts and they were utilizing banks when banks were paying very good rates, 5%, 6%. People are like, I'll take that 5% CD and I'll open up a retirement account or I'll transfer money from one to another. And it turned out they had all these retirement accounts. Now, of course, rates have gone down and it's not as attractive, but for a lot of people, they still have all of these different retirement accounts, and that can become confusing, and it leads to the possibility of missing a distribution, and then 50% IRS penalty. Nobody wants that.
No.
Let's say you were supposed to take out $10,000, 50% penalty, no good.
Yikes.
So number one, the ability to consolidate can be very attractive simply because you now can bring it down to, say, maybe one or two different retirement accounts that you now, it's easier to keep track. Okay, there it is, nice and clean and neat. Also, too, if you have a financial advisor that's helping you with your investments, you now can lean on this person to say, okay, give me some different ideas on the investment strategies as well as the distribution strategies because you have no choice. You've got to take those distributions. So a couple things to consider. Number one, we just talked about the advantage of consolidating so that it's a lot easier to keep track of. Easy enough. Number two, when you have to start taking these distributions, well, how do you take them? Where do you take them from? And that can be challenging. So for a lot of people, they'll be like, okay, I have my retirement account, has all these various stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever it may be, and they sell out of one of them, a couple of them, whatever the situation is, generate the cash, move it over to, say, their bank account as their distribution. And what do? They put it in a low interest rate savings account. Well, another thought is an in-kind distribution you can do where you could simply, let's say there's a stock that you have in your retirement account that does very well. It pays a nice dividend, whatever the situations you like it, but you're like, I have to sell it because I need the cash to do the distribution. Well, that's not the case. You could theoretically I'll make up a number, $10,000 our distribution, we could move $10,000 worth of that stock from the retirement account. In this example, we'll say the traditional IRA, and move it to a non-qualified brokerage account. So it's a electronic transfer, if you will. The value of the $10,000 becomes the value of your distribution because you're moving it out to the non-qualified brokerage. But now you've maintained that investment. You didn't have to sell it. You didn't have to pay a commission to do anything. You simply just journaled it over, or in this case, it was a withdrawal. It goes now in your non-qualified brokerage account, and you've maintained it. And maybe it was something, like I said, it has done very well for you. You like the dividend or whatever the situation. Maybe it's a nice growth stock or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. You didn't have to sell it. You weren't forced to do it. Another opportunity, if you will, for people that need to start taking the distributions, but let's say they're fortunate enough that they don't need the money to live on. And this happens where people over the years have accumulated a good amount of retirement assets, maybe through a 401k or 403b. They've now moved it over to a traditional IRA, and they're like, well, David, you know what? I know I need to take out, again, I'm making up a number, $10,000 this year. I don't need it. I'm fortunate enough that the money that's in these retirement accounts, I don't need them. But unfortunately, I have to take the distribution because if I don't, then it'll be a 50% penalty.
We don't want that.
We do not want that. And then what do? They move the money over to their checking account or savings account. They're getting next to no interest. And again, like I mentioned, they don't need that money. Well, something to consider, this may be an opportunity for them to take the distribution and maybe fund a life insurance policy. Maybe they're saying, David, the money I have in this retirement account, I'm planning on either leaving it to my wife or I'm leaving it to my children. And a great example would be, let's say they're leaving it to their children. You know what? Maybe what you end up doing is taking those distributions and using that to pay a premium for a life insurance policy. And what's nice too for a lot of policies out there, it's very popular, is a death benefit may have, or I should say the insurance policy has a death benefit, but also a long-term care rider. And again, this is something you'd have to qualify for. You want to talk to your financial advisor. You'd have to do a physical. There are different aspects to it. So it would be something you have to qualify for, but maybe you don't have long-term care insurance. But you know what? You can utilize these distributions to fund a policy that could provide that.
Okay.
Or the other piece to it too is we talked about life insurance because of the tax that would be due to, say, your beneficiaries. Let's say this money is going to go to your children. Well, currently, they would have to take the money out of this retirement account for themselves within a period of 10 years. Now, it used to be, prior to the pandemic, you could have it, let's say I pass away and my retirement account goes to my children. Prior to the pandemic, it used to be that they could stretch this out over their life expectancy. Well, now the longest they could do it would be over a 10-year period. So think about that. Depending on how much money you have in there, that could be a big tax bite for your children. So getting back to what I was talking about, if that's a concern that you're like, you know what, I don't want to leave this big tax issue for my children, that utilizing your mandatory distribution payments or withdrawals to fund a life insurance policy that would help offset the taxes. Tax-free money that could be utilized to offset what they're going to have to pay in income tax.
Okay.
Again, it's more of a strategy, and this is what I love when I sit down with somebody new and they have these different retirement accounts, is I try and get under the hood, if you will, and say, okay, let's talk about these accounts. Yes, we know we have to take the distributions, but do you need these distributions? And if so, let's figure that out. Let's see what that looks like. And in some cases, people may say, you know what, David, of what I need to take, and again, I'm making this up, I need to take out $10,000. Again, that number would change every year. Is I only need $5,000 of it. Well, maybe $5,000 goes to you, $5,000 goes to a life insurance policy or gifting or whatever the situation is. The beauty is you can have this conversation with your financial advisor, and it's important that you do so. Don't do it the moment you have to do the distribution. Set up a strategy, if you will, like what is that going to look like? What are you going to need? and set up a plan accordingly. And again, these are just a couple thoughts, a couple ideas. Right. And again, I appreciate Jim from Allentown reaching out. But for anybody listening out there that has various retirement accounts, a 401k, a 403b, a traditional IRA, just a few examples, and you are getting to that point where, you know what, you're going to be age 72, say you're not working, you're in retirement, and now you need to start taking these distributions, sit down with that financial advisor and say, okay, what are we going to do? What is it going to look like? What are my goals for doing this? And unfortunately for a lot of people, when they do their distributions, they're not really setting up a plan. They're just doing what they're told to do.
Right.
But this could be a great opportunity, not only to satisfy what you need to do, but use it as legacy planning. Use it as a long-term care plan. There are different options. Or if you like your investments in your retirement account, like I mentioned before, instead of selling them to generate the cash for your distribution, well, simply move it over. Don't sell it. Transfer it over. That would be considered a distribution for the amount that value is at that day that it's done, and you can maintain it in a non-qualified brokerage account. Again, just a couple thoughts. Wanted to put it out there. Jim, thank you so much for the question.
Absolutely.
And for anybody out there that, they're in this situation, they're getting closer, even if they started it, maybe it's a good time to revisit and just have the conversation so there's full clarity out there for what you'd like to see done, and that your financial advisor, the two of you, or the three of you, or how many family members that you have for this conversation, everybody, you have that conversation and you set up the plan that makes sense for you.
Excellent.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
That's what I call a nice little financial breakfast, financial wake-up call with a side of coffee.
There you go. Maybe tea.
Oh, tea works too. A little green tea. Hey, whatever gets the blood flowing there, the caffeine, whatever gets your day started. Dave, people can reach the show, shoretime@townsquaremedia.com. Where can they get in touch with you at Shoreline Wealth Management to learn more about all this?
Thank you. Call the office at 732-902-7880, or, of course, visit us at shorelinewealth.com. We have an office in lovely Manchester and Manahawkin.
There it is. The double M's, M squared. And go visit Dave. He'll pour you that nice cup of coffee or cup of tea and put you at ease.
Even come by the office and we'll talk about the previous show.
Tell me what you
think.
A little conversation about short time with Vin and Dave. Well, we got more of the show today coming up here on July 3rd. Ocean County Prosecutor Bradley Billhimer joins us next to discuss summer safety, but also some different programs that are going on year-round from the prosecutor's office to help with a number of different areas and issues around Ocean County. So can't wait to speak with Prosecutor Billhimer coming up next on Short Time with Vin and Dave on 94.3 The Point and 105.7 The Hawk. The opinions voiced in the show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. This information is not intended to be a substitute for individualized legal advice. Please consult your legal advisor regarding your specific situation. Riders are additional guarantee options that are available to an annuity or life insurance contract holder. While some riders are part of an existing contract, many others may carry additional fees, charges, and restrictions, and the policyholder should review their contract carefully before purchasing. Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.
Whether you are in the early stages of investing, getting ready to retire, or planning your estate, you need a financial planner who will guide you on a clear path with honesty and transparency. Shoreline Wealth Management provides clarity through the complexity. Shoreline's system is straightforward. They will understand your financial circumstances, identify goals, analyze current plans, and customize a path to position you to reach your goals. Shoreline Wealth Management is your financial anchor. Visit shorelinewealth.com for more information today. Shorelinewealth.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC.
Hi, this is Southside Johnny from the Asbury Jukes, and you are listening to Short Time with Vin and Dave on 94.3 The Point and 105.7 The Hawk. And I'm in the Hall of Fame.
Welcome back to Short Time with Vin and Dave. Vin Avenue, Dave Crossan with you, and joining us here this hour is Ocean County Prosecutor Bradley Billhimer, here to discuss a number of topics. Some are related, some just year-round related, as certainly with the drug epidemic, and bias, intimidation, and so on and so forth. So a few things to discuss here this morning. Appreciate you coming in. Welcome in back to the station, Prosecutor Billhimer.
Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me on this holiday weekend and getting me up so early. I really appreciate you guys having me, so thank you.
We have coffee, we try to keep us up,
Just a reminder out there, for all you people up to shenanigans and some tomfoolery this weekend.
We're up early.
We're up early to bring you the news.
Exactly.
There we go. Hey, the news never stops, right? So I wanted to talk, obviously, get into a few things. Obviously, with June just wrapping up a few days ago, Pride Month. But, just one of the parts that your office has looked to address in terms of bias incidents or different related crimes or hate crimes, and not just stemming from Pride Month, but year-round with religion or gender identity, sexual orientation, and different kinds of hate crimes. So what are some of the things that came out of the month of June, and some things that your office has been working on overall in terms of trying to address bias intimidation? And one of the campaigns you've had is Hate Has No Home in Ocean County.
That's right, Vin. Thanks for bringing that up, actually. We'll jump right into it, right? We're getting right into the heavy stuff. So, obviously, like you said, we're coming off Pride Month. It was, I want to commend Toms River. I had a chance to go down to the Toms River Pride, my wife and children, and we walked through, and I think it was a great event. And I want to commend our local police departments for getting behind Pride. We were talking recently about one of the biggest challenges. Somebody asked me, what's the biggest challenge that law enforcement faces? And I honestly think it's division. I think it's right now the culture is that we're so fascinated with picking sides and who's on what team and who's on the other side, and you're not on my team. And as I go around the state and I go around the county, and we try to, we have a tremendous amount of community outreach. We try to get in with our faith leaders. We try to be at barbecues and Founders Days and town picnics. What I find is that our citizens are more alike than they are not alike.
Sure, right. Yeah.
We have more in common than we have not in common. And there's such a stigma related around bias incidents. And in New Jersey, statewide, we have had a 400% increase in the last 6 years.
Oh, wow.
That's an alarming rate. Yeah. So we've dedicated a lot of our time in the prosecutor's office. We, as you mentioned, we had a Stand Up to Hate. We started off with Love Thy Neighbor campaign when I first got in the office in 2018. And I think that may have been a little too biblical, so we moved towards Stand Up to Hate. And now we have a more universal, there's no room for hate in Ocean County. We have billboards throughout the county. And we try to really send that message whenever I'm out speaking to students, whenever I'm out speaking to adults. I try to really send that message. As you know, I go to the schools. I know the school just recently ended for all of our students here in Ocean County, and we go to the elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and the thing that I notice in elementary school is that the kids are more pure. They don't have any hate for anybody.
Sure.
So what we're seeing is that hate is a learned trait. It's something that they're developing over time. So I think if we can try to educate our kids through the school system, I think we're all going to be in a better position. So we are working on really having people report bias incidents and bias crimes. That's why you see the stark rise. It's part of the reason that you see the rise in the number of bias crimes and incidents. We want people to report them so that we can investigate them. We can develop the data that we need. And once somebody's in the system for a bias incident, then we know that there's a certain predilection, towards that behavior.
Right.
And we can track that stuff. So New Jersey has the most enhanced reporting system, most comprehensive and enhanced reporting system for bias incidents, I think, in the entire country. So we want people to come forward, and it's not always easy. I think people are reticent to come forward because they don't want to,
retaliation or anything, or people finding out.
Exactly, they're afraid of retaliation. So we've been very vocal in law enforcement through the prosecutor's office and through our local police departments that we need you to come forward, we need you to report it so that we can investigate it. And we've been very clear that if there is a charge, we will prosecute it to the fullest extent of the law. If there's a sustainable charge, we will pursue it. So I think it's important, especially on the heels of Pride Month, to talk about that. I just attended a summit in Newark at the Ruth Bader Ginsburg Hall at Rutgers University with Governor Murphy, the Attorney General, Acting Attorney General Matt Platkin, and the entire summit was about hate bias and violence. As we see the tragedies that happen in Uvalde, just recently Philadelphia, all over the country, we have to start really teaching our kids that, it occurred to me, and I'll steal this from Colonel Callahan, actually. He said this at the summit, that in this country, we're more comfortable with two men holding guns than holding hands, And I thought that was a powerful message. It really resonated with me. So we have to move towards some type of understanding and acceptance and just let people be who they are. And nobody should be attacked, God forbid, for the church that they worship in, the color of their skin, or who they love. And I think that message needs to get out to the public. So I hope everybody's listening at this early hour.
Absolutely.
And we can
it will help
on that.
continue to circulate the message, long after this morning as well, posting it out there so it could be, re-listened to and learned. And I think it was a great point you brought up about the schools. Obviously, the childlike innocence, right? I think, where they, love everybody, they make friends with everybody, have fun on the playground and everything. I don't know, maybe it's more of a middle school, high school thing where you're growing up and then you're seeing things or making your own opinions. Do you think more should be done or with the schools? No, obviously not just Ocean County, but your take on schools statewide to, address it on that front with helping the young developing minds in schools, but also something else with adults too, who sometimes they forget, they get lost, and there's just so much clouded hate or judgment for other people over small things, let alone large things like sexual orientation or religion, whatever the religion is.
And also, just want to interject too, with social media and all the information and different opinions and thoughts that are out there, it can be very confusing. And as children get older, they're seeing all this and they're being pulled in all these different directions, and a lot of hate can come from that.
That's an excellent point. So, like I said earlier, I think it's about division. It's one of the biggest challenges we have, not only in law enforcement, but in our country and here in our state, and certainly in Ocean County. Like I said, we have more in common than we don't have in common, whether you're African American or Orthodox, Jewish. I travel this whole county. I speak to everybody. We all want the same things. We want to be safe. We want to pursue our dreams. We want to be safe in our communities.
Yeah.
And we want our families to be protected. So I think it's a message that we need to get out, definitely in the schools. I think what we've learned is that hate is a learned behavior. Nobody's born with hate in their heart.
Right.
Babies aren't born that way. Children don't grow up that way. I think as adults we have to take some responsibility because it's a learned behavior.
Yeah.
I certainly agree with that. And while we're on the subject of schools, that's another issue. I know school obviously is over. We're going to start up in September, but school safety here in Ocean County is at the top of our list of priorities as well. And we're certainly working with our local police departments, the Department of Education, the Sheriff's Department is involved as well. And we're going to be holding a series of meetings over the summer to harden up our school safety. And we're going to be out in all the schools in September. We have, the office used to do this. We used to go to all the back-to-school nights, and we try to hit all the schools. There's a lot of schools in Ocean County, so it's going to be hard for me to personally appear at every school. But we're going to try to make sure that the prosecutor's office is available and at every back-to-school night, available to speak to parents, available to speak to the children. And I think it's important to set the tone early in September as to what behavior is expected in school, and to make sure that we're working from the outside in to make sure that our schools are safe. So that's something that we certainly have the support of the Ocean County Commissioners. I had an opportunity to meet with Jack Kelly and Commissioner Quinn, and they're certainly behind us, and we're going to make sure that we're doing everything we can. And I have to give credit to the local police departments, especially here in Toms River. They do a great job with school resource officers and making sure that our schools are safe. And as we see this violence spread around the country, we want to make sure that it's not going to happen here in Ocean County. So the prosecutor's office is all in, and we certainly have the support and the cooperation of all our law enforcement partners at the state and federal level. So we have some trainings we're going to do over the summer And we really appreciate with our superintendents the relationship we have and the year-round commitment we have to safety. You know, it doesn't end because it's July now.
Yeah.
It's something that we have to work on again for September. So school safety is of paramount importance to us, so we're going to keep working on that. But thanks for letting me get that part of it in.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you know, shooting's a concern. I think Howell and Middletown were two towns in Monmouth County that are adding secured armed officers to schools in their towns. I guess it's a possibility for any school district anywhere across the state. But in terms of security, do you feel like a more added police presence or more additional resource officers are needed at every school building? More protocols or different drills that should be practiced by school districts? You know, obviously everybody knows the fire drill, right? You know, where you get out of the building.
They still do that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, get out. Everybody's like, oh, it's a drill. But, you know, other safety-related drills, I guess, obviously at this point, when a kid hears the bell go off, they assume it's just a fire drill, and they're like, okay, come on and get out. And there's always going to be the kids that are like, oh, you know, it's not serious, it's just a drill. But with regards to other ones, you know, obviously, and unfortunately, in the age we're in, and if you wanted to go back, I guess, in history, going back to Columbine, should there be more of those kind of drills that schools should implement, you know, drills once a month or twice a month, every couple of weeks, where school administrators are, you know, implementing these drills, whether it's a drill coming off or knowing where to hide, knowing who to call, knowing what to do in the event of a, God forbid, emergency in a situation, whether it's gun-related or otherwise.
Absolutely. So, you know, there's a survey that was done every decade, so in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and I don't know that it's been done in a while, but in the 80s, when you asked kids what they were most afraid of in school, it was getting caught chewing gum. And when you asked them in the 90s and the early 2000s, it was getting shot. So that's just a stark, you know, reminder of where we are. In Ocean County, we do have school resource officers. We have SROs, as they're known, school resource officers. Class 3 officers in some schools, and some schools just have their own school security. There's 3 types. So we're working with each school district through our local police departments to make sure that every school has some type of security. And shortly after Uvalde, we compiled a list just to make sure our data was up to date. And I'm happy to report that most every school has security, and the ones that do not, we're going to work with them over the summer to try to make sure that we can. You know, it gets difficult when it comes to finances. It's really police officers, you know, in certain towns, you know, they have to be paid, obviously.
Right.
So it's the department putting a police officer in a school takes a police officer off the road.
Right.
So, and it's an issue for the school systems as to whether or not they can afford to help
Especially
pay.
in the smaller towns.
In the smaller towns is where we're having the issues. So, but we're going to make sure we do everything we can to make sure that our students are safe. As you know, I spend a lot of time going in and out of the schools. We started this year. We started doing this lunch pop-in where I would take a group of detectives and we would go around. We started at Intermediate North, and we just popped in during lunch and we walk around the lunchroom. We talk to the kids, and I make sure that the group of detectives I have with me are representative of the school. You want to see people that look like you. And they can talk to the kids. We had a detective with us that spoke Spanish at Intermediate North, and 2 girls had just come over and enrolled in the school and didn't speak much English. So for them to find somebody that they could communicate with, that was wearing a badge and a gun, it was really nice.
What were the kids' reactions when you come in at first?
That's a great question. First they thought we were there to arrest somebody, and we thought it was a great idea. You know, I thought it was a great idea just to pop in and represent law enforcement in a different way to kids. Let them see us. Let us walk around and just talk to them. Sit down at the lunch table and just talk to them. In that particular school, I thought it went great. We stayed for all 4 lunch periods, which is, a little bit post-COVID. It's a long time to be in an indoor facility. And then the next day, I think there was a big fight in the cafeteria, and I don't know that our presence, the next day even made a difference. I was a little disheartened. The following week we dropped in, I think it was Intermediate East, and then I think some of the students, and again, it felt great. We were talking to the kids, and it was our presence was definitely, I thought, positive.
Sure.
Then the kids started Snapchatting, saying that we were, putting pictures of us up, saying we were there to arrest somebody. Parents started calling the school, saying, "Why are the police there?" So then we thought we might want to take a different approach, because we don't want to be a distraction during the school day. We just, it sounded like a great idea. It turned out maybe it wasn't. So we're gonna have a new approach come September.
Was in the right place.
Our heart was in the right place, and it was a time commitment too, to try to just work it into your day, to try to drop into a school. So we had other schools on our list, and we aborted the mission.
And changed plans.
We're going to try again in September with a more organized approach, and we'll be making certain presentations in certain schools. I can tell you that in the month of March, we got probably 13 to 14 requests to come speak in schools, which we do all the time.
Okay.
And we speak to senior groups if they ask. We speak to schools about social media use and things like that. So we felt that March wasn't the right time. By the time we organized it all, it'll be April, and these kids can see the goal line of the end of the year in June. So I'd like to do that, have those conversations with the kids in our schools in September and October.
Sure.
Really try to set the tone for the year, as opposed to coming in when, kids in school now post-COVID, it's different.
Right.
Kids are, they've been home for a year or two, and they just
checking out.
Yeah, they're little. We need to really address and try to assist our teachers, who do a great job, our administrators who are doing a great job, and we just want to support them in any way we can. So we're gonna have a more multi-pronged approach.
There you go.
To address all the issues we can. So
I want to discuss more with bullying and cyberbullying and some other topics as well. But Dave and I have to head to a break. Can you hang with us a little longer?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Excellent. More Short Time with Vin and Dave and Ocean County Prosecutor Bradley Billhimer right after this.
Hi, this is High Performance Executive Coach Dana Cavalier and former Director of Strength and Conditioning for the New York Yankees, and you're listening to Shore Time with Vin and Dave on 94.3 The Point and 105.7 The Hawk. It's always great to hang with champions, and these two guys are champions.
Let's face it, investment concepts and financial planning can be very intimidating and confusing. Shoreline Wealth Management addresses that feeling head on. Their goal is to educate you while offering financial advice without buzzwords and jargon. Shoreline includes you in the process and makes you comfortable every step of the way. Shoreline Wealth Management is your financial anchor. Visit shorelinewealth.com for more information and start your financial journey with comfort and security today. Shoreline Wealth Management, with offices in Manchester and Manahawkin. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC.
Welcome back to Short Time with Vin and Dave. Vin Avenue, Dave Crossan with you, and with us this morning is Ocean County Prosecutor Bradley Billhimer, talking about a variety of different topics, school-related and society-related as well. We hit on it in a couple different ways in the first segment with regards to bias incidents and then bullying, school bullying, or just bullying in general. But I want to start this segment with a quick question on cyberbullying, which I know is something we've discussed in the past, Prosecutor. Obviously, in the last several years, it's a lot different, and including during the COVID pandemic with more people working or being remotely or working remotely or doing school remotely. And with anything and everything from COVID to marijuana to politics and this and that and everything else in between, I have to get into some of the comments that are left on our social media pages, or mine, or the prosecutor's pages. I'm sure you've seen them all, or the direct messages that we get. But people, it just seems nowadays can be cruel in a lot of different ways. Hiding behind the computer screen or hiding behind the keyboard, just kind of saying things at will and not really thinking of any possible consequences to their words. Most times it's just, the sticks and stones. But I think it's created a large problem and a societal problem as well, influential, right? And you talk about the kids growing up and seeing it, but when you look up at some of the adults in whatever society, Ocean County, whatever, saying the things that are said on social media, with cyberbullying incidents, it kind of creates this whole other turn of things, so that when people are in person, it's more bullying related too. Obviously, I think when you think bullying, it's school related, but I think bullying is bullying. It's hateful or demonstrative behavior on any scale for adults as well. So just what is your take on that? What are the challenges with bullying or cyber crimes related these days?
There's so many. I'm glad you've noticed. I guess you've read the comments on social media, right? So
we all get them.
It's the soapbox for our, I guess not really our generation, but for the younger generation. As you pointed it out, Vin, we live in a world where everybody has a phone and everybody has the ability to post a comment or share their opinion, and all of that is, I would say most of that is protected by the First Amendment. We get referred a lot of social media commentary that we have to follow up, and invariably we come to the conclusion all the time, or most of the time I should say, that these comments are protected by free speech. But there is a contingent of people that feel very comfortable saying very terrible things on the internet, and it's not just here, obviously, in Ocean County. It's throughout the country and the world. It's given everybody a soapbox to share their opinion, and the old saying about opinions. But you have to let people say what they want. But we try to, if there's a prosecutable case, basically, unless you threaten somebody with physical violence or you target them for a bias issue, then that's something we can prosecute, and we've done that. And we've had some cases brought up from our local municipalities that were prosecutable, and we'll do that if we can. But I think it goes back to that whole thing we were talking about in the first segment. It's division. It's everybody's in a different camp. And I think once we can start to break down those walls, we can start to see that there's more good than bad. We need the good to drive out the bad, the light to drive out the darkness. So cyberbullying is certainly an issue. Kids feel more comfortable saying things just like adults that don't need to be said. And I guess it's that old saying, that my mother used to say: if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything
don't say it at all.
Well, that doesn't apply anymore, right? People say whatever they want, whenever they want. So it's certainly a challenge, not just for law enforcement, but it's a challenge for all of us. And I think the bottom line is we can all do better, and I try to teach that to my own children. I think that you have to really be careful about what you say. And I can tell you all that stuff that you say on the internet, whether it's on a social media app or platform, it follows you for the rest of your life. We just welcomed our class of interns to the prosecutor's office in early June, and as part of the background check to make sure that you're amenable and suitable for a position in a law enforcement agency.
Right.
We want to look at your social media, and quite frankly, we had to turn some of these young adults away, and it's going to make it hard to get a job in the future too. You've shown that you have a bias, or you've shown that you've said some things questionable ethnically, racially, religiously, or towards law enforcement. It's going to make it hard for you to pursue the career, and that's part of what we talk about when we go talk in the schools. Is just want kids to understand it's not something you just say and it goes out into the ether of the world. It's something that follows you around, and I don't think kids understand that sometimes. And there's a certain portion of society that are adults that don't care, right? Because they already have their job in there, or they're retired, and they can say whatever they want, right? So, free speech is free speech, but I think there has to be some civility brought back. You just want to, be nice.
Be nice.
Hard.
Yeah,
Right.
You could use anything, any number of sayings or biblical phrases, treat others the way you yourself want to be treated, right? Then that's not just in person, that's online or social media related as well. So just be nice to people.
Well,
be respectful.
It's a good distinction that you brought up. Most of the people that type these things into their phones or onto their computers so they could say them through a keyboard wouldn't actually say them to your face.
Right, that's a great
what are the odds that what you're typing out there is what you actually say to somebody's
They become
face?
brave to say something because they've seen others do it, and it's like in
They
that
become
way.
emboldened by the apps.
Yeah. Right.
One of the things that people have discussed in one fashion or another is the legalization of recreational marijuana, which I know it's something that I've discussed with other law enforcement chiefs and people as well, with the concerns with driving under the influence, and there's always, there are going to be the advocates for marijuana that are going to, find reasons around it. But, the facts are the facts. And unfortunately, something that came out recently was the car accident in Manchester back in March involving a Toms River woman who was high on marijuana, crashed into a DOT pickup, who ended up colliding into a couple other cars. So she caused the crash. Of course, we've seen other incidents, some national too, that as well, back in November of 2019, as we all remember, with the car, and this was not just marijuana related, but also alcohol related, with the Porsche that flew into the office building on Hooper Avenue, and the driver having a BAC of 0.189, 22 nanograms of marijuana in his system, and his passenger was high and drunk as well. So, I mean, these things continue to come up, which is, I think, why there's continued concern with the legalization of recreational marijuana, that there are going to be more of these DUI-related incidents or DWI, alcohol, marijuana, people just day drinking. Or I think it was one of our guests who was talking about, instead of the day drinking, it's people going to be smoking marijuana. I know Danielle Backer, the Toms Riverman involved in that crash, was high at 7 o'clock in the morning. So what are some of the other concerns you have, not just this summer, but moving forward with alcohol and drugs and marijuana-related incidents?
Well, you brought up the incident with the Porsche from a couple years ago, and I can tell you, I was at the scene of that, and I was there when they were pulling the car and the two young men out of that building, and that's something that stays with you when you see something like that, and it's something I'm hopeful to never see again. And the decision to put out the driver's blood alcohol content was something that I wrestled with, because there was no crime, right? I mean, so the prosecutor's office, we are, that's what we do, is we prosecute crimes. But I met with both of the parents of those young men to explain my reasoning for wanting to put that out as a deterrent, really, for people that age and people that drive in general, to say, listen, when your blood alcohol content is that high, you're clearly impaired and you shouldn't be operating a motor vehicle. And I think it's an important time to say that although possession and use of marijuana is legal in the state of New Jersey, it is still illegal to operate a motor vehicle under the influence of marijuana and certainly of alcohol. And I think that people are, like we talked about earlier, they're emboldened by the fact that it's legal, and they think, oh, I can drive. Well, you can't. And the statistics, unfortunately, are going to bear out that, ingesting marijuana, whether, you eat it or you smoke it, or there's so many different ways to do it now, it impairs your ability to operate a motor vehicle. And we're going to continue to prosecute those offenses, and I'm hopeful that there'll be less of them. But now that it's legal, I'm sure that there's going to be more. So it's a concern for us. So at the county, we also we operate under two grants, a Move Over grant and a DWI grant, and we support our local municipalities pretty much every summer and every weekend in the summer. We go out with our local police departments on these grants to make sure people aren't driving under the influence. So we want to make sure our roads are safe. We have 45 miles of beachfront community in Ocean County. So
right.
Our local municipalities over on the shore, those roads are mostly one lane up and down the coast. So we want to make sure that if you're out there walking, riding your bike, or that it's safe.
Yeah,
so
of course.
We're going to be out there making sure. Our population year-round residents is about 637,000 people, and then we swell from Memorial Day to Labor Day to about 1.2 million.
Yeah.
So our roads are much more congested, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support distracted driving is another issue, by the way. Not to support distracted driving, but we have a lot of kids on the road in the summer, and a lot of the drivers, it goes back to these phones that we keep talking about.
Right.
I want to make sure they're not on their phones, because God forbid you lose a loved one because they were under the influence or they were looking at their phone. We just want people to drive that car with both hands on the wheel and look forward and make sure you're paying attention to what's going on. It seems kind of basic, but that's one of the things that every summer and mostly year-round, we want to make sure that we're supporting our local police departments the best way we can.
Even with rubbernecking delays, too. It's from distract. People are more concerned with what's going on in the southbound lane than what's in front of them.
And also, there's so many options with these different, Uber and Lyft, where, people are going out having a good time. There's options. There's no need to drive.
That's
There's
true.
Different options for people to be safe.
That's true. And I think that the younger generation of kids, I think that we are fortunate. You don't see as many people drinking and driving in this demographic. They're more responsible, I think, than, say, older generations used to be. Like, so that's good. That's a good thing. But there are options: Uber, Lyft, taxis. There's taxis available over in the beach. So we just want to make sure the roads are safe so that we don't have to be meeting each other around crime scene tape. And
I know you've had some programs that you've put out in the last few years alone aimed at helping curb drunk driving, like the Kimberly Smith Ames campaign, and on the drug fund, cleaning drugs off the streets, but also trying to help people find recovery as well, whether that's the First Step program, the Michael Camillus Project, the Blue Hope program, Operation Helping Hand, and so on and so forth. But as much as it is an effort to crack down on those drug-related crimes, whatever they are, dealing of different drugs and narcotics, driving under the influence of drugs, dealing, buying, and so on and so forth, about trying to find people help and find people recovery at the same time as well. So where do you see things now? Where are things currently sitting at in terms of the drug epidemic on Ocean County?
Oh, unfortunately, Vin, we're still dealing with it. It doesn't seem like it's going to go away. I think from a county perspective and from a law enforcement perspective, I think 2014-15, we were still struggling to figure out the best way really to deal with it. I think, quite honestly, we're past like what I would call our hand-wringing stage, where we were all kind of like, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And we were trying to develop programs. I think that we've developed some very targeted programs. I think any prosecutor would tell you that from a county level, we want to work on prevention, education, and enforcement. It's a three-pronged approach. I think each of those prongs is equally important. So we work a lot in the prevention area. We certainly work a lot in the education area, and our narcotic strike force is very proactive.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something I think is just as important. You have to make sure that these drug dealers that are peddling drugs on the streets of Ocean County know that when we get you, we're going to have you. We started the first of its kind. It's called an asset forfeiture unit within the strike force. So
okay.
We have a detective that is a CPA, and he can do the financials, and we can make sure that once we have you in our grasp, we're going to get everything we can, and we're going to make sure we put you out of business. So in terms of our diversionary program, you mentioned a couple of them. Blue Hope is a program that we inherited that pre-COVID had a great response. That's where you could walk into any police station, really ask for help, and you would be directed to either inpatient program or you would be evaluated to see whether or not you needed inpatient or outpatient treatment, but you would get the help that you need. Once COVID happened and police stations shut down, we've seen the success of that program be somewhat limited, but it's certainly still available. So if anybody's listening and has a family member that needs help, you can walk into a police station, you'll be directed to resources, and you'll be evaluated, and we'll do everything we can. We've been able to obtain a grant called Operation Helping Hand from the New Jersey Office of the Attorney General, and that has allowed us to do all the things that you're talking about. The Michael Camillus Project, which I'm really proud of. We have another one called Elevar, the First Step program, Trident program, and of course the Blue Hope. The First Step program is one of the ones that we started back in 2019. The goal is to try to link those that have overdosed with services. Okay. So this is a pilot program we rolled out in Lacey Township with the help of Chief Mike DeBella, who's a great supporter of ours. We work with Chief DeBella and Bright Harbor Healthcare so that we can kind of reach back out to those people that have suffered from an overdose. We offer wraparound services to the family. We oftentimes forget about the family members that witness somebody go through that, and we try to offer them some services too. And, it gets them in touch with a licensed clinician and a case manager and a peer recovery specialist, all provided by Bright Harbor Healthcare through our partnership with them. So it's one of the ones that I was really proud of. If I could just really quick talk about the Michael Camillus Project.
Yeah, please do.
When we talk about prevention, education, the Michael Camillus Project is one of the things I'm most proud of that we're doing. We also talk about trying to remove the stigma of drug addiction, of substance abuse,
Right.
So that's one of the things that we're always working on, and I've been proactive in this area for over 20 years here in Ocean County. I was a defense attorney before I became prosecutor, so I was involved in this. And it used to be, only a certain segment of the population got involved with, oxys, pills, and then eventually heroin. Once we got into 2017, 18, 19, we're seeing it happen to everybody. Every family's affected. Every family was affected. So with that came a stigma, and the Michael Camillus Project is something I'm really proud of. We work with the cooperation of Ocean County College with law enforcement officers to put them through basically college-level education, and they obtain an 18-credit certificate of completion that allows them to sit for a state board exam, to perform clinical hours, to obtain their certified alcohol and drug counselor designation. It's called the CADC designation. So the funding from the Attorney General's office, the partnership with the college, allows us to really break down that stigma of substance abuse addiction from the inside out. We educate the police officers about treatment options, about really how addiction occurs in a family, and those law enforcement officers can go back to their departments as a graduate of the program and really kind of spread that message within the department. We currently have a waiting list from our local police departments to get our law enforcement officers into the program. So it's a really innovative educational experience that it's the first of its kind that I know of, and I think it's going to do a lot to help break down the stigma of addiction here in Ocean County. So I'm super proud of that.
Also, could you mention about the Special Needs Registry?
Special Needs Registry, thanks for bringing it up. That's a project that we worked on for almost a year, and that's a partnership between the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office, the Ocean County Sheriff's Office, and the Ocean County Chiefs of Police Association. Basically, where we're working, we've created an online registry complete with, we have a website. You can go to www.ocsnrnj.com. It's Ocean County Special Needs Registry, NJ.com. That's the acronym. So that we can identify anybody with special needs, whether it's autism, whether it's a heart condition, whether it's something that makes interaction with a police officer maybe a little more precarious than it would be. Any special need member in the home can register. You get a decal for the front of your house, you get a decal for your car, and what we're looking to do with that is really improve interaction between law enforcement and the person that may or may not need help, so that if you call 911, and you're a member of the Special Needs Registry, it'll come up, and the officer will know before he responds or before he conducts a motor vehicle stop that the person in that vehicle has some special needs. There might be some communication problems, and it's going to improve hopefully the overall outcome of interaction between law enforcement and the people we serve. So it took us about a year to get that off the ground. It was a labor of love, I must say, but it's something I'm really proud of, and I'm proud that the Chiefs Association was behind it, the sheriff was behind it. It was just a matter of getting the logistics worked out through the 911 system and building the website and all that stuff. So it's something I think that really sets Ocean County apart. There's a couple other counties that have it, but it's all in an effort to protect the most vulnerable members of our society. I think that's what law enforcement is here to do, right?
Sure. And I think it was a great discussion when you came in earlier this year with Detective Sergeant Melissa Rose there to discuss this.
That's right.
This new, the special needs registry in Ocean County and everything. I think it's a great thing. I know Monmouth County has done something similar the last few years as well, and I think it's important to be able to have those communication indicators for law enforcement and the general public as well. Prosecutor, I know we've covered a lot of ground today. Certainly all great topics, a lot of important discussion points as well, and then that hopefully everybody out there listening will be able to take something with them throughout their house and to work, to school, wherever they're going, that we could all help each other out and protect each other.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me, Dave and Vin. I appreciate being on, even though it's really early in the morning. I like being here.
We know you're an early riser.
All the stuff that we're doing. I am an early riser, but Sunday, 4th of July weekend. But I am an early riser. But I do like the opportunity to talk about all the things that we're doing, and it's really helpful that you're available to help us get the word out. And if anybody has any questions, they can certainly go to our prosecutor's office website, and they can call the office at 732-929-2027, and we're there to help. If it's an emergency, call 911, though.
Right.
Absolutely.
I wish everybody happy 4th of July.
Yes. Hey, we're always here to help you guys get the word out about different things going on at the prosecutor's office. So thank you again for coming in, and enjoy your 4th of July tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you. You as well.
That is Ocean County Prosecutor Bradley Billhimer. More Short Time with Vin and Dave next.
Hey, it's Chris Carlin from Rutgers Football and 98.7 ESPN in New York, and you're listening to Short Time with Vin and Dave on 94.3 The Point and 105.7 The Hawk. These fellas are entertaining.
Let's face it, investment concepts and financial planning can be very intimidating and confusing. Shoreline Wealth Management addresses that feeling head on. Their goal is to educate you while offering financial advice without buzzwords and jargon. Shoreline includes you in the process and makes you comfortable every step of the way on your path to financial freedom. Shoreline Wealth Management is your financial anchor. Visit shorelinewealth.com for more information today. Shoreline Wealth Management, with offices in Manchester and Manahawkin. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC.
Welcome back to Short Time with Vin and Dave. Vin Avenue, Dave Crossan with you as we put a bow on things here.
Wrap
on
it up,
July
buddy.
3rd, holiday tomorrow for everybody. 4th of July, Independence Day. Be safe and have fun with
Enjoy.
barbecues, whatever you
Yes.
got going on. A couple of great guests we had on this morning. Sherry Garrison, who talked to us about the importance of CPR. And then Ocean County Prosecutor Bradley Billhimer, who just joined us, talking about a number of different issues, from battling the drug epidemic, the importance of finding a ride, where the prosecutor's office, what they've been doing, the different programs to help people, not just help people find recovery, but also take drugs off the streets and really go after people dealing drugs in our community. And the importance as well, obviously, like we said, ride-sharing services, no drinking and driving, no driving under the influence of any kind, and distracted driving as well. But also, Dave, one of the things he hit on in a couple different ways with regards to bullying, and I think it could all fall into one umbrella in a sense. Bullying in person, cyberbullying. I think bullying gets associated, school, but
Right.
adults bully
Now-
each other as well,
Right,
in
and then with
person
the
or
computer
online.
and
So
online and the cyberbullying, correct?
I think that one of the things, be kind, be respectful, treat others the way you want to be treated, and that's on social media or in person as well.
Well, think of it this way, and the great point that was brought up, hate and different things of that nature are things that are learned. Babies aren't born with it.
Right.
Over time, and the challenges out there, like we were just talking about with social media and different ways people are being pulled in different directions, it's very challenging. But, it's so important it's addressed, and all the activities and different things they're looking at to hold people accountable. It's so important.
It absolutely is. And check our website. Our app will have everything that Sherry and Prosecutor Billhimer discussed up there as well, so that you can re-listen, read through the articles, re-listen to our conversation this morning. We'll get that up on YouTube, Facebook, and on our website and our app as well. And continue to share that message. It's a timeless message that could be heard year-round as well. Dave, we got a couple of great guests I'm stoked about for next Sunday.
Yeah, we're not fooling around here, buddy.
We got a couple big shore guests, including one who's become nationwide famous.
There you go. Yes, very much so.
One of our
It's a big one.
from the shore to the show, so to speak.
That was well said. And you didn't even write that down. That came from you right off the top of your head. Nice done.
So check our website and our app this week, this Wednesday. We'll post out who those guests will be. And then, of course, check out our full on-demand section as well within that article. Dave, have a great Sunday and a great 4th of July.
Enjoy, my friend. Thank you so much, as always.
Have a great Sunday, a great week ahead to all of you. Be safe tomorrow and the 4th of July, and safe all
Enjoy,
week
have
long
fun.
as well. And have some fun, too. Flip over those burgers and hot dogs. More Short Time with Vin and Dave a week from now on 94.3 The Point and 105.7 The Hawk. Till then, we're out.
Hi, this is Christy Pierce-Rampone, former U.S. women's soccer team captain, Olympic gold medalist, World Cup champion, and Point Borough High School alum. And you're listening to Short Time with Vin and Dave on 94.3 The Point and 105.7 The Hawk. Tune in for some real conversation with Dave and Vin. You don't want to miss this.